Last subject, I guess for video, because on Zoom we will have our spelling test, and then I'll show you the reading quiz that you'll be taking on Taylor Desborough. Okay, we stopped on page, I want to say 115 in our science book. So we're going to have our handy dandy highlighter, and we're going to say, Miss Taylor, I promise not to go highlighter happy. Defeats the purpose. All right. You were supposed to answer 5.6 comprehension checks, and then we're going to read 5.7, and you're going to answer those comprehension checks on that same sheet of paper that you did for the other. And then I'm wanting to see some kind of weight, or air has weight, or some kind of cool experiment. Somebody do it. Find one that you liked. If you don't like the silly balloon one, find one for me, okay? All right, so page 115, air's weight and pressure. You have probably heard the expression as light as air. You may have thought that air does not weigh anything. After all, air does not feel heavy unless you live in Louisiana. And then it's thick and it's humid and it like makes you have sweat beads before you even get out of the house into the car, and it makes your hair do these kind of things. But we're not talking about that, are we? Okay. But air does have weight. A cubic foot of air weighs just about 1 ounce. I like that interesting fact. A cubic foot of air weighs about 1 ounce. It would be impossible for you to measure air by itself, but you and a friend could try to demonstrate which will show that air has weight. The Bible talked about the weight of the winds, all right, long before scientists learned that air actually had weight. Since air has weight and takes up space, air is matter. I like that. It's important. Since air has weight and it takes up space, air is matter. All right, so you see the weight of air, the little experiment. So now I'm on page 116, and it talks about air having pressure. Because air has weight, it creates pressure. I need you to highlight that. Pressure is the measurement of a force that matter exerts over a certain amount of area. Solids exert pressure. If you ever pressed flowers, you have used the pressure of a solid book to flatten out the flowers. Play-Doh, silly putty, yeah, that kind of stuff. Ketchup packet. Liquids exert pressure too. You can feel the force of water pressure if you put your hand over the end of a garden hose when it's turned on. Not your mouth, Dev, no, okay? You can, but I guess it might clean out your nose and ears if you do that. You can feel the force of water pressure if you put your hand over the end of the garden hose when it's turned on. Gases also exert pressure. You may want to try or demonstrate below in order to observe air pressure. So here they're showing you that you can put the water, it's just like the one we saw on the Little Physics Girls website. She also did one when the oxygen burns out of the candle. She lights a candle. It's in a paper plate and it has liquid that's a color. She lights the candle and then she takes like a mason jar and she puts it on top. And once that candle burns all of that oxygen out, a lot of that matter is gone. And what happens to the water that was just in the plate? It starts going up into, I want you to read it. I want you to look at it. Talks about air pressure. Okay. Talks about air having matter. All right. We're on page 117. Do you remember how far up the atmosphere extends? Every bit of that air, which goes up for about 1,000 miles, has weight. The weight of all the air in the atmosphere creates pressure as it presses down. Air pressure is greatest close to the surface of the earth. As you go up higher into the atmosphere, the air pressure gradually decreases. So, why don't we, I mean, that makes common sense, right? But you'll say, air pressure is greatest close to the surface of the earth. Highlight that. And then highlight as you go up higher, the atmosphere air pressure gradually decreases. It gets smaller. This happens because there is less air above to press down. Air pressure on Earth will vary. If you are on top of a high mountain, air pressure is less than if you're at sea level. Air pressure at sea level is about 15 pounds per square inch. Highlight that. So air pressure, the amount of force or it's exerting downward. Remember, it has matter. And what else affects matter? Gravity. So air pressure at the sea level, which is just like normal, flat ground, okay, is about 15 pounds per square inch. Right now, about 1 ton of air is pressing down on you. I can't breathe. No, that's not true. How is it that you do not feel the ton of air? Since air is exerting upon you the same amount of pressure on all sides, you do not feel that pressure. If you have ever flown in an airplane, you may have experienced what it feels like when the air pressure becomes unequal. When the airplane gets to a certain height, you can feel the air inside you pressing against your eardrums. When your ears pop, or you're chewing gum, or you're trying to get your ears pop, the pressure has suddenly become equal on both sides of the eardrum. You can observe how a change of air pressure affects liquids by watching what happens when you drink through a straw. The straw that you put in the glass of liquid looks empty, but it is full of air until some other substance fills it. When you put the straw into a glass of liquid, the liquid forces out some of the air and fills the straw to the same level as the liquid that's in the glass. When you suck on that straw, you remove the rest of the air that is inside that straw, and the air pressure inside becomes less than the air pressure outside. The straw works because the air outside the straw presses down on the liquid and forces it up the straw. If you put a straw in a container which was completely airtight except for the opening that you made by the straw would not work because the air pressure on the liquid would not be changed. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but if you try that air pressure experiment I'm telling you about. Let's look at 5.7 questions. True or false? Air is matter. True. Air weighs less than an equal amount of a solid or liquid. True. Number 3. Although solids exert pressure, liquids and gases do not. False. All of them exert pressure. Okay, number 4. Air pressure at the top of a high mountain is equal to the air pressure at sea level. False. The air pressure at sea level is greater than that in the mountain. Number 5. You do not feel air pressing down on you because pressure on all sides of you is equal. This is true. All right. So, you are going to complete comprehension check 5.7 on the notebook paper that you did 5.6. You'll have them one on the top, one on the bottom, all right? And then you're going to look to see if you can find a science experiment that has something to do with air pressure, the weight of air, and so forth. It's getting close. It's getting close. Look forward to seeing you guys at 10 a.m. Boom.